Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're well today. So if you're new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Natalie Jade. I post videos over here at least 3 times a week, but I do have a vlogging channel too. So in today's video, we're going to be testing a full face of dupes. So I've actually put half of my face have dupes on, half of my face have high-end makeup on. Make sure you comment down below right now which one you think is dupes and which side you think is high-end. So this is what we're going to be doing in today's video. Make sure you guys stick around. Do not forget to like, comment and subscribe, and let's just get started with today's video. As I said, I've been so excited to film this video. I have so many incredible dupes that are genuinely so similar. So this video could save you so much money. And as well as that, just find some really good products. So we're going to get started, and the first product I'm going to use is primer. This one is probably one of my closest dupes and one of my favourite dupes. So the high-end primer we're going to try is the Touche Eclat Blur Primer by YSL. If you've been on my channel before, you may know this is my ultimate favourite primer. However, it is quite pricey, so it's not the kind of one that I would use on a daily basis because, like I said, it's quite pricey. I don't want to go through it too much, but this is a beautiful primer. Very hydrating, gives you a really nice kind of start to your skin to kind of work on. I'll just show you the packaging first. This is what the packaging looks like. It's a simple glass jar with a little gold lid on. This one personally is a tester pot, so it's the mini version. And then on the inside, it's got little flecks of gold glitter. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it on camera. It's just so nice. But the dupe version of this is the NYX Honey Dew Primer Base, which is this one here. Very simple packaging. Different name, very different name, but then if you look a bit closer up on this one, it's got more of a yellow colour of the liquid, but it still has those gentle kind of small gold flecks in there. The applicator in them are both very similar. They both have little spatulas, which is really cool. I don't think I've ever used a primer with a little spatula apart from these two, but the only difference is the colour of the liquid is a little bit more yellow in this one, and this one's really stringy. Like, I was not expecting it. I'll try to get a bit closer so you can see a little bit better. But it's really stringy, and I never ever expected this. Like, it's such a weird kind of like feeling, but it's really cool. So I'm going to go ahead, zoom you guys in, and we're going to get started. We are now all zoomed. The left hand side of my face is going to be for drugstore. The right hand side of my face is going to be for high end. I'm going to start off with the drugstore. So I've got the NYX one on here, and I'm just going to start applying this. It still has a really stringy texture on your face until you properly, like, I can literally feel it like stringing over my eyebrow there. It's got a really stringy texture until you start to rub it in, and that's when it starts to feel really similar to the YSL one. So I'm just going to apply this onto half of my face. This is weird. I've never done like half of my face in makeup before. Like, I've never just done like, it's weird, very strange. So I'm going to put that one back, and then I'm going to start to rub it in, but it's so nice. It feels quite, I'm going to say wet, but it feels quite like jelly. It's got a really nice consistency, but it just soaks straight into your skin, and it gives you a really nice kind of like dewy, hydrated, kind of moisturized effect. I normally go for more of a matte makeup, but for these, I feel like these are genuinely such good primers. Like, they hydrate your skin, and they just got your skin ready for the makeup. So it's literally all sunken down here already. It's so good. I do get very dry skin, so that's probably one of the reasons my skin really likes these primers as well. But you can't actually see any of the gold flakes once it's actually in your skin, and once you've rubbed it in and applied it to your skin, you cannot see any of the gold flakes in either of them. But it does help to kind of like moisturize, hydrate, brighten, that kind of thing with your skin. So now that it is all rubbed in, really like that. I can't put my finger on the smell. It's a really nice fragrance. It's a little bit like clean washing. I feel like I'm using that one quite a lot at the moment, but it is just like that. So then I'm going to move on to the YSL one. The applicator is not as big, but this is a testing pot. This one feels slightly more velvety, like a little bit softer, but it is honestly so nice. It also kind of reminds me of the Revolution matte base, which is the matte primer, and I think it's from Revolution Pro line. It is so nice, but the reason I chose the YSL one is mainly because of flecks of glitter and just the way that it performs. So this is now all applied. You don't really need a lot, a little bit does go quite a far way. So I'm just rubbing this in, and then once you start kind of like rubbing it in, it just gives that really similar feel. The only difference between it in the end is this one is slightly more tacky than this one. This one just kind of glides in and just sinks in a little bit better. This one's a little bit more tacky. So now that that is applied, I'm going to go in with the next step, which is going to be foundation. The foundations that I've got are very similar, and I do think they're dupes for each other, but they're in slightly different shades, so I'm hoping we can still pull this off. So the Drugstore one we've got, we'll start with that one first, is the e.l.f. Flawless Satin Foundation. I got this in the shade Buff, which is 250. This one has warm yellow undertones. That's the only bit I'm worried about, is this one does have like more yellow undertones than the other one. This is what the packaging looks like. It is a really nice foundation. And then the other one we've got to compare it to, the high-end one, is my absolute trusty favourite Nars. So if you can see, they're quite similar in packaging, and they do look to be quite similar shades. And when we use them, they do perform very similar. When you first apply them, they've got a bit of a different consistency, but then when you start to blend it out, it does start to come together. You'll know what I mean when I'm actually applying it and blending it out. If you can see my skin now, it's starting to look a little bit more glowy. There doesn't look to be many differences from the different primers that I've applied. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to apply the foundation next. So I'm going to apply some onto the back of my hand. This is the e.l.f. one first. I'm only getting one pump now because normally I'd use two, so I'm trying to like half it off for just half my face. So I'm going to start to apply this. I always use my finger to apply this. And this is what it looks like. See what I mean about the yellow undertone? It's a gorgeous foundation. I just feel like I definitely got the wrong shade. Like I needed one similar shade just without that yellow kind of tint to it. It looks a lot more yellow on my face than it did on my hands, which when I first tried this, it really surprised me. But we'll see how well it performs. So this is nearly applied. I definitely still got too much product, even for half a face. So this is what it's looking like. What I'm going to do is then apply the Nars one and then blend them out together, because then you can see kind of like the differences between them. This one feels a lot more full coverage when you apply it like this, but then it blends out to be less full coverage, like more of a medium coverage, if that makes sense. The Nars one is the opposite way around. You start to apply it and you're like, oh my god, this is not full coverage at all, and then you blend it out and it really comes together at the end. So they both kind of like a reverse of each other, but in the end they both look really similar. So going in with the Nars, I'm going to use again one pump of this. So I mean, it does look a little bit darker, but it does go a long way as well, just a little bit with this one. So just getting some of this and applying it here. But you see what I mean about how similar they are? Like they don't look like they're going to be that similar, but they are. This one is a little bit more full coverage when you blend it out than the other one, but I think these are going to match. Like, look at how close they actually look when they're on my skin. This is why I didn't want to blend them out until they're both on, because they are so similar. Okay, so I'm going to keep applying this until it's all gone. Now that that is all applied, I'm going to blend it in using the same beauty blender. I'm just going to use one side for the high end and one side for the drugstore. So I'm going to start with the drugstore side first, and I'm going to blend this out. You see what I mean? At the start, this one looks like it's going to be like really thick coverage, but then when you blend it out, it just kind of like sinks into your skin. So it's got good coverage, but like for example my freckle here, you can still see that very prominently. See, it's really still out there. So I'm just going to blend this in. But for a drugstore foundation, I really like that one. Like, it's really good. It just kind of gives you a nicer kind of finish on your skin. Like I said, it's not the best coverage, but it gives you a nice start for your skin. So now that's all blended in, I'm now going to do the other side with the other side of the beauty blender. This is now what my face looks like now it's all blended in, and this is my personal opinion, but I don't think it looks like I'm wearing two different foundations right now. They are such a good dupe for each other. The Nars is slightly higher coverage, but that is very slightly, I think the tone and the colour actually match pretty perfectly for that. I'm really, really impressed. So I'm going to move on to my concealer next. And I've actually got a new concealer which I've been trying, and I genuinely think this is a dupe for my favourite drugstore concealer. So my absolute favourite drugstore concealer is the e.l.f. Camo Coverage Concealer. This is in the shade Medium Neutral. This is my absolute favourite, to the point where this has run out, so I've actually bought a new one. And then the one that we're going to compare this to is a Juvias Place Concealer. These are so similar in so many ways. The packaging is a little bit similar. They've both got quite a long cap, and then they've got their kind of name and kind of details about the products down the glass side. And when I open it up, the dough of them is almost identical. And this is like one of the things that I loved so much about the e.l.f. one, was how the size and shape of the dough was. This is what they look like. Very, very similar. This one does look to be in a slightly lighter shade, so I'm hoping that it doesn't end up looking a little bit off because of that. But in the actual like aspect of the shape, the size, everything of it looks identical. The product like formula itself is very, very similar too. So we're going to try this out and see what it's like. We're going to go in again with the drugstore version first. I do feel like I need to get a lighter shade of this, but this is how this one is. This is literally such full coverage. Like, it is so good. I'm going to do the centre of my nose with my concealer, but I'm just going to use a Juvia's Place one for that, because I don't want it to look a bit weird if I do like half and half with my nose. I'm not really sure how that would work anyway. So this is my concealer for that side applied. Like I said, a little bit darker, but I'm going to go with the Juvia's Place one now. This one is slightly more wet, like it's slightly more liquidy as this one, but it blends out so nicely and it ends up looking quite similar to the other one with the coverage of it, just with the overall kind of effect of it in the end. So if you look at that, I think that is a pretty good match for the other one. Like I said, slightly lighter is this one, but they're both really good coverage. They're both really good consistency. So I've just applied a tiny bit more of the e.l.f. one just on top of that, because I feel like if I applied a little bit more, it just looks a lot more similar like the other one, if that makes sense. I've just applied a little bit more, and now I'm going to start to blend. And these are genuinely beautiful concealers. I'd never ever tried any Juvia's products before until this one. I tried it and now I'm obsessed. I want to try more of their products. So if you've got any recommendations, do let me know in the comments down below and I'll definitely check them out. I always struggle with my eyes when it comes to like blending it in with my concealer and stuff, because I have very prominent under eye bags, but these both seem to really work for me. See, that's just blended in beautifully, and then I'll do the other side here. They're so similar. Like I said before, slightest bit lighter in this one, but for the coverage and for the actual application, the blending, I don't feel like I could have got any closer with those. So maybe a slightly lighter shade, but other than that, the actual products themselves are so similar. The next one I'm moving on to is my bronzer slash contour, and this one I actually really think is a perfect match for each other. This is the Revolution Patricia Bright Moonlight Glow palette for my drugstore one, and I'm going to be using this shade in the centre here. This is a really nice kind of like warm toned shade. And then for my high-end one, we're going to use a Kylie Jenner Toasty, which is 300, and this is her bronzing powder. These are so similar. Look at the shade of those. They're so similar. So we're going to give them a go. Again, drugstore first. I am using the 002 brush from Real Techniques. I actually have two of these, so I'm just going to use the exact same brush, but like a clean one on each side. And then I'm just going to start to apply this. They're both very pigmented, so use some and then I like to blend it out after. So I just apply some to my face and then some to my forehead too. This is going to be the hard part, is my forehead, because I don't want to do my full face and then forgetting about it. So I'm just going to apply some up here. And then I'm going to start to blend it out. I have now applied my contour on one side. This is what it's looking like. So I'm going to go in with the Kylie one now. I'm just going to tap some of this on my brush. Like I said, they're very pigmented. So I don't get too much. I want to rather just kind of like build it up. I'm going to start to apply some of this on. Like the shades are so similar. They're so close. And then I'm going to do some on my forehead area too. I'm really hoping by the end of this video both sides will literally look identical, but we'll have to see. I'm not gonna lie, one of the bits of the video that I'm looking forward to the most is the eyeshadow palette. Like, I'm genuinely so surprised by the dupe that I found out. They're genuinely identical. So this is what it's looking like. The next product I'm going to move on to is my blush, and I've actually gone a little bit different with this one. I'm actually comparing a cream blush to a powder blush, and I know they're not similar in the actual appearance of them, but in the overall effect and like the final result of them, they are almost identical. The Drugstore blush we are going for is the XX Revolution Cloud Blush. This is in the shade Soft Focus. This is actually a blush and lip tint, but the shade for this is beautiful. And then the high-end one we're going for is the Morphe Blush Trio, which is the Pop of Blush. So we're going to go for this shade in the centre, and then I'll just compare that with this one. Like, they're genuinely the same shade. They are so similar. So I'm going to go again, Drugstore version first. I'm just tapping into this and applying this on. It's just such a beautiful shade. Like, it's so light and just gives you that really nice kind of like sun-kissed tone there. So I'm just applying that there, and then we'll blend that out afterwards. For the high-end one, I'm going to go with a different brush. I'm using the contour brush by Real Techniques for this. I use my blush with this brush all the time, and I just feel like it works really well. And then I'm just going to start to apply this one. This one's more buildable than the cream one. I couldn't like not include these. So that's what they look like before they're blended out. They're literally the same. In my opinion, they may look different on camera, but in my opinion, these are just the same. I'm just going to get a fluffy brush here, just to help blend this in on both sides. Now that that has been applied, I'm going to move on to my highlight, and this is genuinely always my favourite part of the video. If you guys have been here before, you already know this. You'll be sick of me going on about highlight, and today I'm going in with like probably two of my favourite highlights. These are probably my two favourite highlights. For the Drugstore one, we've got the Soph highlight. I've talked about this so many times. I've used this so many times. It is stunning. This is the Cookies and Cream, and it is just beautiful. It just blends straight into your skin. It just melts into your skin. And then for my high-end highlight, we're going in with the Kylie in the shade Quartz. But in the pan, these look so different. But then if I do a little swatch for you, they look very similar. Like, look at those. They look so similar, like you couldn't even tell which one's which. This one is a Soph and this one is a Kylie, but they literally look identical. So let's see if they actually perform in the same way as well. I'm going to be using a setting brush by Real Techniques. I'm going to do one side with the Kylie, one side with the Soph. So I'm going to go in with the Soph one first. I am obsessed with this. This Soph highlight is with Revolution. This is for £8. She does 3 different ones, and they're just absolutely stunning. So I'm going to start to apply this one first. And look at that. Look at that shine for £8. Like, the performance and the quality of this product, you would not think that this is the Drugstore product. Look at that shine. That is just beautiful. So that's what that one looks like there. I'm just going to blend this out on the edges a little bit more. So that one is what the Soph one looks like, and then I'm going to flip my brush over and grab the Kylie one, and we'll see what this one performs like compared. Like, I've used all of these, but I've not actually compared them in a full face. It's quite interesting to see if the dupes actually work compared to each other, and this is what the Kylie one looks like. They're literally identical. They look exactly the same, but look at how beautiful they are performing. Like, they're just melting. Both of them have literally just melted straight into my skin. And the colour, look at the colour. The colour's literally the same. The next product I've got is my eye base. So I have two. Neither of these are like overly expensive. One is just like a cheaper, more drugstore version than the other one. So the drugstore one I've got is the Beauty Bay eye base. This is so good. Like, I genuinely absolutely love this product. I accidentally discovered this. I just bought it on the Beauty Bay website for a TikTok. Tried it out once and I was like, this is a game changer. This is so good. And then the one we're going to compare it to is, of course, the most incredible P. Louise base. So these are very similar, quite similar in shade as well. So Beauty Bay one, we're going first. I'm just going to apply some onto the back of my hand. And then I'm also going to apply some onto the back of my hand of the P. Louise base. This is how I would normally do my eye base anyway, applying it onto the back of my hand, then to my eyes. So I thought I'll do them next to each other so you can see the comparison, you can see the similarities, the differences. So this one here is the Beauty Bay one. This one here is a P. Louise. So it's slightly darker, but the actual performance of them are so similar. I'm just going to use a flat brush. This is just the Oval Flat Concealer brush from So Beauty. Using this side for the Beauty Bay one, this side is going to be for the P. Louise. So I'm just going to start to apply this to my eye. You see how pigmented that is? Like, that's so good. This is so cheap as well. This one is so affordable. It's a Beauty Bay own brand product, which I think is really cool. And then I'm going to use the P. Louise base on the other one. Like I said, slight, very slight difference in shade. But the pigmentation, very similar. The P. Louise is slightly, very slightly more pigmented than the Beauty Bay one, but that's a very slight. I'm just going to use a beauty blender just to blend these in. You can't really tell that I'm wearing two different eye bases there. In my opinion, I don't think you can. You might be able to, but I don't think there's a difference there. Now on to my eyeshadow. And this dupe is a ridiculous dupe. Like, this is identical. This is the most dupe you are going to find in a palette. So for the drugstore version, I've got this eyeshadow palette that I picked up from Aldi, I believe, or is it Lidl? No, Aldi. Got this for £5. This is the Moonshine Velvet Eyeshadow Palette. This, I genuinely believe, is a dupe for the Anastasia Beverly Hills Novena palette. They look a little bit similar in the packaging. Packaging's not that much. So this is what it looks like when I open them up. I've put the Novena palette at the bottom and the dupe on the top. But this is what they look like. And the more you look at it, the more you see it. So you've got this dark, this orange, this kind of like burnt colour, this shimmery pinky colour, blue. Like, they are just very similar. This palette is like a genuine dupe for the other one. So there are the odd little kind of like slight differences. They've both got like the places for their brushes to go. They've both got little logos. They've both got similar size mirrors. These shades, the sizes, the shapes of the shades are very similar. So yeah, these are very close. So I'm going to use, I don't know what shades to use in this. I kind of want to use some of the warmer kind of tones. So I think I'm going to go in with a shade. Obviously I'm going to use the drugstore version first, which is this Moonshine palette. I think I'm going to go in the shade Meteor here, which is this one, quite a dark colour. And I think I'm going to mix it with the shade Comet here. So I've got Comet and Meteor. So the names of the palettes are very different. This one's more of a kind of like cosmic, like a universal star galactic kind of like themed. And the other one is a little bit similar, but it does have different kind of names to the first palette. So the names are different. It's just these shades. They are so similar. Like, I'll just swatch one for you. So for example, Meteor and Passion, they are very similar. One's just deeper and a little bit more pigmented than the other, but they're so similar. So I'm going to start to put some of this on my eyes. The brush that I'm going to use, do you know what? I'm actually going to go in with the brush from the Lacura palette, which is this one here. I'm just going to go in the fluffy end. As I said, I'm going to go in with that shade Meteor, which is that quite nice like burgundy brownie kind of shade. And I'm just going to start to buff this around my lid there. I'm not too sure about the pigmentation of this, if I'm completely honest. Like, it's nice, but it's a little bit, I don't know if it's the brush, but it's not really applying as well as my regular palettes would. It's kind of just sticking. It's not really blending out as nicely. But we'll stick to it and see how it goes. This is what it's looking like. So So I'm gonna then go in with the same brush on the other eye. I'm just gonna clean the brush off with my little brush cleaner first. And then I'm gonna go in with the shade Passion, which is the one that matches up to this shade in the other palette. So this is now the Anastasia palette. And I'm just going in with the shade Passion. See, that one's blending out so much better already. It's got a bit more of a pink undertone to this one compared to the other one. But it's still quite similar. The other one's a bit darker. So I'm just going to buff this out. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go in with, well, from the Dupe palette, I'm going to use this shade here, which is called Milky Way. I'm going to use that to blend this out a little bit more. And from the Anastasia one, I'm going to be using the shade Base. But I'm going to go with the Dupe first. So I'm just going to start to blend this out. And hopefully it'll have a nicer kind of edge. And be a little bit softer and less harsh. So this is what it's looking like now that this is a little bit more blended. Again, the annoying part is just the different colour. The fact that one's a little bit more purple, a bit more like of a darker tone than this one is. So I'm going to go in with the Anastasia one now. Going in with that base shade. I'm just going to start to blend this one out. See, this one just blends so much nicer than the other one. It's definitely a dupe of it. I think they've just changed the colour very slightly so that they can get away with it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go in with a little bit of that Passion shade from the Anastasia one just on this eye, just to even them out, so then we can play with the shimmers and see how similar they are, because if I have two completely different coloured eyes, they'll look a little bit weird. So we've kind of tested that out. I'm just going to add a little bit of that Passion shade into this one just so we've got that similar undertones and we have somewhere to start with. I've literally just added the tiniest bit of that Passion shade on and it looks identical now. So it just needed that little bit of a red undertone. So this is now how it's looking. And I'm just going to blend this out a little bit with that shade that we used before, the lighter one, the Milky Way shade. Just grabbing some of that and just helping to blend this out. So they have some beautiful, beautiful shimmers in here. In general, this palette is so similar to the other one. It's just like a shade darker in everything. So the shimmers are very, very similar. They're just literally just a shade darker in everything. If you like compare them next to each other, you see what I mean about how they are so similar, just a little bit darker. So for my eye shimmers, I'm going to go in with like a lighter shimmer. I'm going to go in with the Zodiac one from the Lakira palette, which is this one here. Really, really pretty, but it's not that pigmented. And then from the Anastasia one, I'm going in with the shade Dreamer. They're very, very similar. This one just got more of a pinky undertone. This one's got more of like a goldy, silvery undertone. So I'm going to see how well they perform. I'm just going to start to apply that on my lid. So that is really, really pretty. And then I'll just see this one. See, that one's really pretty too, but it's a lot more pigmented. So for the palette Dupe, I feel like this one is just a better performing palette, which is to be expected. The Anastasia palette's like £40 each. This one was £5. So it is to be expected, but for a dupe, they are very similar. So this is how my eyes are looking now. And they're very similar with those shimmers. They're very, very, very similar. So I'm now going to move on to my eyebrows and my mascara. For my brows, I'm going to go in with these brow gels. The one that I'm going to use for my drugstore one is the Saint Luxe Brow Gel. I've used this so much that the writing has come off the front. But this is so good. And then the dupe for it is going to be the MAC Brow and Set Brow Gel. This one's really, really nice as well. They seem to kind of like get my eyebrows in a nice place. They're not too crusty. They actually set them all day and they just both perform really, really well. There are differences obviously with the packaging, and then with the actual product themselves, the only difference is when you take this one out, it does have like excess product on it. However, with this one, it's got a longer kind of spoolie on the end, and the actual product itself gets all the excess taken off because of the way that it works. But it's a high-end product, so it's going to be better quality anyway. We're going to go with the Luxe Gel one. I actually got this in a glossy box. Like, I was never actually going to buy this. I just got it in a glossy box, and I really like it. So this, just going to apply it onto there. I'm not very good at my eyebrows. I never have been. Never been an eyebrow kind of girl. So that's how that one is looking. They're both translucent as well, so it makes them quite similar. But there's not a lot you can compare with your eyebrows with these gels. They just perform very similar. Like I said, this one's got a bigger wand and a bigger kind of spoolie on the end, so that makes it a bit easier to apply. So my final item for this video is mascara. And if you've been on my channel before, you will know that I do love a good Primark mascara. These are about £1 to £2. They do range depending on which one you get. However, this one is so good. This is the PS 3D Lash Effect Extreme Length, Volume and Curl Mascara. Really pretty packaging too. It's like a really nice metallic-y effect. Compared to the high-end one, which is the Ariana Grande REM one. So this one's got, again, a very, very metallic packaging. This is so nice. This is a lengthening one too. So if we open these up, this is when I feel like they genuinely look so similar. The wand is what does it for me, and the overall performance of the product is what does it for me to make them a dupe of each other. The packaging is similar, but like it's different shape packaging, things like that. But the wands are almost identical. They're both very, very thin. They've got very small spiky edges on. So I want to see how well they perform against each other. I'm going to go in with the Primark one first. See, for a Primark mascara, it's so good. I'm just coming a bit closer so you can see a little bit better. Really nice. I feel like the Primark ones never ever clump up my lashes. Like I never have any like clumping problems with these ones. So I'm only going to do one layer of each. So it's more of a like fair comparison. That is the Primark one applied, and now I'm going to go ahead and apply the Ariana one. This one's a little bit better for separating my own lashes and making them look a little bit longer. Like obviously it's a lot more expensive and it's a high-end one, so it's going to be better. But they are so similar. Like the application of it is just so similar. I really, really like it. You see what I mean? How similar they look? They really widen your eyes and lengthen your lashes. This one's just got a few more bristles on the one, so it is easier to apply. But this is what it looks like. One coat of each. I don't think if I was walking down the street, someone saw me, I don't think someone would say she's wearing two different mascaras. Like someone wouldn't notice that. That is it. That is my full face of dupes. I've enjoyed this so much. The one that surprised me the most has been the highlight. Like the highlight genuinely shocked me. Like they are so similar. The foundations as well, they were so similar. I could not believe. Like look at that. You would not, personally I don't think you'd think that I'm wearing two halves. Like my face would be split in half with two different sides of makeup. I think it's actually done a really, really good job. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, do not forget to smash that thumbs up button. Leave me a lovely little comment in the comment section down below, and make sure to subscribe to my channel for more content just like this. And I will see you all in my next video. Bye!